What's up? What's up, everybody? This is a brand new platform, a brand new concept. This is actually going to be a virtual podcast, basically, essentially, but it also will be audio for those of you who just like to listen in the car or whatnot. But I wanted to let you know that this show is titled, well, for now, it's called Talk to Me because I feel like I'm going to have different guests on my show where they come on and they talk to me. We just talk about life and what's going on in different subject matters. So I am honored to have a friend of the show on here be my first guest. Shout out to KK. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for letting me be the first one on the show. So as you said, I'm a friend of AT2. I'm a fellow AT tuber, and you oftentimes see me in the chat, giving thumbs up and all of that stuff. And so, that is who I am and what I do.
Yes, perfect. And let me tell you something about Kay. Kay has been a person that I talk to very often during the election cycle and then after the election cycle. I think definitely after the election cycle, I needed some kind of spiritual guidance or something. Like I needed the moon, Uranus, Venus. I needed to all talk to me and make, I guess Sagittarius, I'm a Jupiter. Jupiter wasn't helping me out. So I needed to pull the other planets and shit like that and make it make sense. So, with that being said, it was kind of like this thing on TikTok called the 4 a.m. crew, right? And so it was people who woke up like in the middle of the night. And it was like no matter where you were, what coast, it was all around that 4 a.m., 3 o'clock ish that we woke up and then seen the results and was all like, oh, this is some bullshit. And we either went back to sleep or, we just kind of tuned it out because it was a lot. It was heavy. Kay, how was it for you waking up the next day after the election?
Well, you know what, AT2, it was heartbreaking, right? I mean, when we first saw the numbers coming in and things being called very early on, right? It was kind of you couldn't watch it. It was too painful to watch. And when you woke up the next morning, when I woke up the next morning, it was dread. That pit in the stomach kind of a dread. Like, yeah, how could we? How could they? I mean, because it
Right.
wasn't a we, because I know
Right. It
what
wasn't
I
a
did.
we.
It wasn't a we.
Hey, it wasn't a we.
It wasn't a we. Okay. But yeah, it was heartbreaking, and for days after that, it was trepidation, fear, and just sadness because it was
Mhm.
all it was a vote for humanity. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And so many things. And, there was this controversy with Kamala Harris because she said, I'm not going to tell you I told you so. But I mean, everything that she warned us about, it has came into fruition, literally.
Exactly, exactly. So, uh, it it's really interesting when we kind of look at the even her strength after the feeling of not just, defeat, but just like a moral obligation, right? She showed
Mhm.
up with a moral obligation, and we saw it, and I told you so, it even though she said it, it was more so Florida Evans, damn, damn, damn.
Oh. It's funny.
It
I was
was
at my parents' house watching Good Times, and that episode came on, and they were like, "What you doing watching this?" I was like, "I love Good Times."
right, right. Because right now we not in the Florida Evans good times in the home, right? Like when
Hmm.
somebody loves you, and that's kind of what the whole Kamala Harris, Tim Waltz. That's what that vibe was during. It was like, wow, we got a shot, we have a chance. Yes, we want
Right.
this. And then you go out into the projects and stuff. And right now, I feel like we're living in the projects. You
It
know,
does.
um,
It
you
feels
know,
really hood.
if we're right, it does, it does. And so, I it's still, if we can say, what is it? Okay, so a little bit of, it's not PTSD, but it is a little bit of PTSD.
Yeah,
So
a
yeah,
little bit. And they
a
also
little bit.
said we're Delulu. And that kind of brings me into the whole 4 a.m. club when you woke up and was kind of like, wait, what's going on? Like it felt like we were in an alternate universe or something like that, right? And so
Absolutely.
this TikTok thing was called like this 4 a.m. club because everybody happened to wake up, and it wasn't just about waking up and seeing the results, it just didn't feel right. At least for me, I know it did not feel right. Like it was all like, no, no, this is not it. Like even in 2016, that didn't feel right, but it was kind of like, nah, I can see it, right? But
I,
literally
yeah.
going through this situation again with Trump, it was all like, no, you guys can't be this fooled. You like this can't be happening. And so there was a lot of people who felt like, no, this is not right. And so there was this 4 a.m. club. There was a lot of psychics and spiritual people saying, like, hold on, you guys, don't worry, something is going to happen. The Democrats, they're working on it. Trust me, Kamala is the prosecutor, blah, blah, blah. And like I was believing it. Like I was the researching things, and I talked about plenty of people talk about the numbers were off, and so I brought that up on my channel. So how did you feel about the whole 4 a.m. club? Like, did you feel like it was you? Like, did you lose faith? Well, talk about the process of finding out the 4 a.m. club because we would share videos back and forth, and then I'll ask you the next question.
Yeah. So, okay. So the 4 a.m. club, things have went okay. Let me back up. Reverse, right? So, it was surreal. All of it is surreal. It still is like we are in the Twilight Zone. And look, I'm old enough that back in the day, I did watch the Twilight Zone, right?
Mhm.
And what we knew back then is that it was fake. It was scripted television. We knew that we could turn it off, and when we woke back up in the morning, that it'd be something wholly different, right?
Right.
In this 4 a.m. kind of a scenario, it is the Twilight Zone that you are not waking up from, right? And that
Mhm.
every little bitty piece of hope ends up being dwindled away. And it
Yeah.
almost makes you, so that was then, and that it was delirium. On That's how you felt. You felt like you were in a flu that just did not go away.
Mhm.
And you know so I don't, what I feel, and I hope that I'm answering the question, because
You are.
that I do astrology. I have a southern twang when I want to, and I can really ramp it up, and it's like, isn't she precious and isn't she sweet and all those things, right? And what I saw is that USA, based on how we voted in 4 a.m., it's like, wow, we are not so sweet, right? We're actually pretty salty as a community. And it starts to make you look at what is real and what isn't real, and the people that we associate with, the causes that we champion, and finding out that people and individuals and circumstances that we really thought were for us, as a melting pot of different ideas and hopes and dreams, regardless of what skin color or sexuality you were. We really hoped and thought, and so did the entire freaking world, thought that that's who we were as a country. And
Oh,
showing how we're showing up right now is that is not who we are, and it's heartbreaking. And it was then, and to me it is now.
yeah. You know what the crazy part is? I almost got a little emotional when you were talking because a lot of people said the reason why they voted for Trump was because of the economy. But just knowing what we know now, and I knew this then, it was not because of that. What drove their vote was literal hate.
Yeah.
I possibly cannot see it any other way. Like you literally see everything being rolled back. just because people have a difference of opinion. And it wasn't until it hurt them they realized, ooh, I might have messed up, because as long as you felt like my money is good, I'm I'm not a other, I'm in the majority, I'm not a other, I'm good. But people quickly realize, no, you are the other. If you're not a billionaire, you're an other. I
Exactly.
don't think people realize that. If you're not a
Mhm,
billionaire, you're an other. A
mhm.
billionaire is going to look out for his billionaire friends, his homies. You are not his homie. You would never, uh, and let me just be honest, you will never be chilling with Trump in Mar-a-Lago. Y'all need to get that out your head. You will never be chilling with, like, you don't hang around in the same circles. I used to say this joke to my dad. I used to be like, yeah, I'm gonna marry Oprah, I'm gonna be a kept husband, right? And he was all like, you don't hang out in those circles to even meet Oprah where you would even be able to marry Oprah. And I used to be like, dang, you sound like a hater, but I think people don't realize it. But no, you have to hang around these circles to be. It's not like you're a nobody and you're nothing, but you have to be in those circles. And I feel like there's certain people that feel like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be down with him, and he's so down to earth, and it's all like, no, he's a politician at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I had heard quite a bit that folks were wanting to vote in the way that they did because, okay, let's. uh, How what do I want to say? Okay, so what I want to say about that particular piece of that, how you voted, most people think Republicans are very fiscally responsible and all of that, right? And as a party, that is what I grew up knowing and understanding, right? And we grew up knowing that or feeling that the Democrats were more about the people, right? And there is a counterbalance. There's a balance there. I mean,
Right.
in order to support the people, you do have to have a strong economy. And what you also have to do is you have to know business. The U.S. is, was, can be, will be, I don't know, in the future, one of the strongest economies. So what happens we think Republicans are very fiscally responsible. We think Democrats are very socially responsible. But what we have started to see and what we know, if you are anybody that is life educated, right? What we
Mhm.
know from life education is that in order in order to be both, like socially responsible and fiscally responsible, that means that we have to play well with others. How many
Mhm.
times when you went to school, right, did your parents say, whether it's turn the other cheek, don't get into trouble, make good choices, all of those things, right? And that requires social and economics to work hand in hand. We are
Right.
no longer in an isolated economy or an isolated world of where we live by ourselves. We live amongst, we are, look, let me go ahead and say this. We are all here. All of
Mm.
us. We are all here. Okay. And yes, there are some people that can leave and go on a leaving on an airplane and go out of space and everything. But for the most part, we are all here.
Right.
And the justification of voting this way out, like you said, I understand it the first time, right? But what did George Bush say? Fool me once, shame on somebody, and fool me twice, shame on.
Yeah, he did say that.
He did say that, right? So,
Yeah.
you
I guess
know,
we have a whole bunch of fools. That's the
and
problem.
well, look, we grew up thinking that if we did the right things, that we could have economic parity, right? That we too could be Barack. We too could be a successful entrepreneur. And
Mhm.
we all thought that. Especially in the US, right? That's why so many people came here. That's why so many people come
Right.
here so that they can chart this path. I will say that the current administration, the leader of the administration, perhaps the leader of the party. I'm not even really sure who is the leader of the Republican Party at
Right.
this
We'll get
particular
into
point
that, but
in
yeah.
time. So I know I'm all over the place, but I'm so excited that we're talking about this because it pains my soul, right? And it makes me very concerned for the 20 and 30 and 40-year-olds going into the next 20, 30, 40 years. It's ah, it's a travesty.
Right. We're going to be feeling the effects. And, one thing to wrap up this portion is that I want to say just remember when you have to look at your daughters, your friends, no matter what hue, gender identity, sexual orientation they are, just remember whatever choices you make, you're going to have to live with it, but you're also going to have to look at those people. That's the best way I can honestly put it. But again, I want to go back to the 4 a.m. club. So, with the psychics and everything like that, like, did you believe in what they were saying?
So because I do astrology, right?
Right.
And I have done it for 30 plus years. And what a lot of people, look, there's going to be charlatans
Mm-hmm.
everywhere, right? And yes, I did. When I looked at the astrology, I saw that all of that eh, vibrato, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was there, and I saw it in the charts. But we also knew that it was it was almost like an unexpected feeling. That what the astrology was saying was that unconventional. It was saying not out of the blue, but surprise, and we all hear surprise, surprise, right? I mean, we thought that it was going to be a good surprise, right? Because that's what our hearts wanted. We knew we were coming into
Mm-hmm.
the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is all about community. So, what better way to shepherd in the community than with someone who cares about community? Now, Lord, we did not see, let me tell you, we did not see that it would be the opposite of community, right? I mean, it's
Right.
mind boggling, but I will also say that the spiritual community or the esoteric type of community, right? And we are spiritual individuals as well. And some of us are really religious as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
We we saw what we wanted to see,
Yes.
that we
Uh,
saw what was in our hearts, what was in our communities, in the communities that we were trying to build. And I will say that when I would see some of the, uh, you know, uh, boots on the ground or people in the street, and some of those those types of rhetorics and conversations that were taking place with people, what I saw was something very different. The types of people. I look, you got to reel me back in because I will. I'll take us
no, no, no,
everywhere.
you're good. No, I like this
but
conversation. You're good.
but when I saw some of Don Lemon's, um, you know, uh, man on the street kind of um,
Oh,
conversations,
yes. Interviews.
that
Yeah.
yeah, those interviews, and I saw who it was that was actually out there, the types of individuals and what they were saying, also how young they were.
Mm,
And so there's one way that we expect those in their 40s, 50s, 60s. We expect them to automatically vote what they appear to be like, the economic way for their 401ks and all of that stuff. And
right.
we all know what's going on with 401ks right now. But
Right.
it was a shock and a surprise. I was a bit dumbfounded when I saw 18, 19 all the way up to like 26-year-olds uh all on the orange bandwagon. I was very shocked about that. And
Right.
look, and at the same time, you look at the richest man in the world, the wealthiest. Rich is a different. You could be rich in health and rich in all of these other things, but the
Right.
wealthiest
Well,
individual in the world was championing this candidate, right? And it is one thing to say, I I want to be the largest or the biggest rock star or pop star out there. Somewhere, yes, people idealize. We'll say, uh, you know, Heliance, right? Idolize, right? But we all know what it takes and to do that, and we don't all think that we are going to be as large and wildly, popular and influential as Heliance, right?
right.
But when you look at business, right? When you an enterprise, a company that is a brand that is in your face, somewhere we're taught that we could also be the owner of an electric vehicle company, that we can also
Right.
achieve those same things, right? That's it's
Corporation
a
or empire.
Yes, we think that we can have an empire. And so even though the folks that were really supportive of that candidate, um, they identified with that candidate because they too could rise to that level, if that makes sense. I know, like, a whole lot
Right.
of words, and
They
hopefully it makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying. Like basically they aspired to be just like how the a lot of rappers back in the day had used the orange man as a reference to show rich or wealth. And so they're inspired by that. They're intrigued by that. And rightfully so. A lot of people, I think, too, we forget that they only get their news like from like little small clips or their favorite podcasters. And the right wing, they have the whole podcast game on lockdown. You can't compete with a Candace Owens, Joe Rogan. Like it is really hard.
Yeah.
So it was like this podcast bro thing. And so, yeah, these are what young men are listening to, these kind of podcasts, and where they don't have to be accurate in what they're saying about politics. They can literally just be like, oh, yeah, the Democrats, they want to take away freedom of speech. You hear those kind of trigger things, and like, yeah, they want to take our freedom of speech away, blah, blah, blah. And it's all like, no, that's not what they're trying to do. Or that the Democrats are only handle or do cancel culture and that the Republicans don't, which we know that's a lie. So again, it's like BS that you would hear from those, like the Joe Rogans, the Theo Von. They don't have to be accurate in what they say. They can just basically go off of vibes. And so when you
Well,
look
that's
at that,
the
you
ability.
do
I'm sorry.
when you look at that, you do see that, yeah, this is more of a vibe kind of thing. It's not about necessarily your policies because, again, they say, oh, well, Kamala didn't have any policies. No, she did. She didn't
It's
talk
kind
about
of,
this.
yeah,
She didn't talk about that. She literally talked about it all, but
she
you guys just
did.
didn't care about it. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man, it's kind of like when, the father in chief, okay, Mr. Obama, okay, got up
Mhm.
there and said, "Hey guys, this is not a test. This is not a test of the emergency broadcasting system. This is reality, right?" And, but it was the people that heard that. It's kind of like when what your parents tell you. They say, "Monkey see, monkey do. I see a monkey just like
Yeah.
you." Right. And they say, "Don't follow, but what happens? What happens when you've already followed that individual off the cliff? What
Yeah.
happens when you are already three-quarters of the way there down that path? What do you do?" And I think a lot of people just end up going ahead and going through that entire process because, hell, they've already gone three-quarters of the way. And it's just sad. It really is just sad because we
Mm.
and I'm look, now you know how I feel about Bernie. It's,
Yeah, Mr. Bernie. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And what was beautiful about what he had talked about previously, and I'm like, again, this is not linear. Okay. So it is not like, okay, there was step one, step two, step three, right? Even
Mhm.
with Kamala Harris, what had happened was if you had read her book,
Mm.
you would have seen what she had already achieved and accomplished prior to coming in to VP Kingdom, right? Prior
Right.
to you, if you would have seen that and actually like looked at it, because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, she ain't for the people, she for the man," and all of those things.
Mhm.
But if you read her book, if you took the time to see how
Yes.
many of the things that she had done while she was representing California, that how it had made its way around the entire United States, how they became principles and policies well before she
Mhm.
became vice president of the United States. And I don't want to say that people are we're not lazy. Like we're not lazy
Yeah.
people as a
Yeah, and I
country.
want to interrupt you right there because you bring
Yeah.
up something, and I'm gonna forget it if I don't interrupt you. I apologize later.
Oh, no
But
worries.
it's the fact that when Trump had his inauguration, you seen like the CEO of Google, you seen Jeff Bezos, you seen Mark Zuckerberg and stuff like that. And so I noticed, and they'll probably come out and say, no, this is not true. Pro Kamala was definitely suppressed because the majority, and we are in black spaces, is Kamala's not black, she's Indian. And I kept seeing that circle, which her identity has nothing to do with nothing, right? It has nothing to do with her policies or whatnot. But her identity was brought up all the time. And it's all like she's running against an orange man. What does her identity have to do with anything? So again, anything bashing Kamala, calling her a hoe and all, it was just crazy that nothing had to do with policy. So you would see those videos and you wouldn't see videos of her come up, her struggle, her actually talking about how she was as a prosecutor and what she implemented as when she was attorney general. Like you weren't seeing those things. And like I'm only one voice. I can only say so much when you have my one voice versus 100 people. It's a gorilla versus 100. It just not, yeah, it just wouldn't work. And so, speaking of these CEOs, you have one that's run by X, Elon Musk. Now, the reason why I bring up this tweet is because we all felt that something was wrong. Like, and I, in the bottom of my heart, after watching a lot of different programs and stuff, I do feel that in the bottom of my stomach, it still feels like something was wrong with this election. And I know we kind of been talking about the facts and what we've seen out there, but in your spirit, does some before we get into the tweet, does it still feel wrong, or are you at the point where it's all like it is what it is?
No, it still feels wrong. It absolutely feels wrong. Um, when we hear, Jasmine, really, when she comes out and speaks, that like it resonates even more that this is wrong. When it just doesn't sit well, especially because we know what we know. Like, look, it's a good thing that we actually had a 4-year gap between the first presidency and this one. Because
Yeah.
if we look at all of the things that happened with the funky cold Covina, okay, and coming into so that being part of the equation on combined with an even greater economic, like what the with the tariffs and all of that, like
Yeah.
we would not have recovered. Nobody, no one would have recovered. And what the policies, the economic policies, or the way you did business back in the day, Because you were talking about, we heard a lot about oligarchs, right? Nobody,
Mhm.
in all honesty, only rich people really know what the oligarchs are, right? I
Right.
mean,
I feel like nobody normal really. I don't want to say normal, but the common folks don't really oligarch. Like, what is that? No one really understood that.
no one understood that. When what we hear is that was a term that you had to educate people on, right? If you have to educate people on too many things, then you're going to lose them each time, right? And
Yes.
so, and we saw that with some of our other friends of AT2 in some of your chats, in particular,
No
some people that
names, but
no name, no names, but we saw them in there, being master instigators. And
Mhm.
because the way that you get people to do what it is that you want them to do is to confuse them. And when we go to the polls and we vote, we are not sure whether or not we're voting on religion, whether or not we're
Mm.
voting on the laws, whether or not we're voting on the economy, right? Because we are a nation of laws. And as that is what the principles are, right?
Right.
And so I know I'm like, can you tell that I'm still not over it? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still not over it.
Right. So in
And
short, it
so
didn't feel right at all to
it,
you.
it does not
Yeah.
feel right. It doesn't feel right.
And I think
So
with this tweet, because Elon and Trump have been going at it. And with this, Elon said, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49. To me, this was very specific. And with the whole Starlink thing, and they say that the voting ballots are not connected to the internet. It's ran off of VPN, but the different not precincts, but the different polling places was using Starlink. So it just felt a certain kind of way, especially Elon giving close to 300 million to Trump for this election. Like, he spent a lot of money. So that's why when people say, oh, well, Elon is not the president, you don't give that kind of money and not be the president. Because if it was George Soros standing, well, I think he can't stand, but in his wheelchair next to Kamala Harris, they would have a problem. Let's just be honest about that. So how do you feel about Elon's tweet? Do you think like he might have slipped on some, or was he just talking just to talk?
I okay. If we want to talk about businessmen, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a real businessman. Okay.
Mm.
Um because the what he has been able to create, it speaks for itself. Okay.
Right.
And we know that with any business, that the goal of that is to continue to grow. So I don't believe that he has, in that tweet, has said anything that we did not already know. We already knew those things, right?
Right.
And him coming out and saying, "Yes, people, y'all were right," that it's it does nothing. It does
Mm.
not move the needle at all. What it does do is it makes us take the eye off the ball, right? And so even at this point, I don't think we even really know what we're fighting for. Even those that of us that
Mm.
voted the way that we did, we quite honestly don't know what to do. We don't know what to do.
Right.
So that tweet in and of itself, it could make us do something, but the thing that you want us to do, certain of us have decided we ain't gonna do that. Meaning we're not going to
Mm-hmm.
the
The
certain
rallies
establishment.
and
We're
yeah.
not Yeah, we're not doing those things. So I feel like regardless of whether or not Mr. Musk actually feels that way and that there really is a beef, right? They squabble up, right? Whether or
Mm-hmm.
not they really are doing that, or whether or not they want us to believe that they are, the tweet in my opinion, is honestly just a tweet. Until you see some action behind that, like
Mhm.
drop the receipts. We want to see the receipts.
Right. Like, what you mean by this exactly?
What you
Like, what are
mean?
you saying?
Yes. Yes. Show us the receipts. Unless you are going to come out here and say that, oh, well, yeah, there was something in the algorithm and the algorithm of how they're counting the things,
Mhm.
whether it unless you're going to come
I
out
like how you
here
did his
and do that.
accent.
Yeah, unless you're going to come out and do that, like we got other things to do, right? We got second,
Right.
third, fourth jobs to be getting because you're
Mm,
laying off people everywhere because the cost of
yes.
food, the cost of living is going up. We've got, we've got to look at whether or not we're going to be able to send our kids to third grade, because now, like, what you trying to make 8-year-olds be adults? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I know that 8-year-olds as adults, that's a big stretch, but what we're seeing is that tweets like that, really, it's kind of making us take our eye off the goal, right? And
Right.
off the problem, and the long-term consequences of what is happening right now. So
Right. That
yeah.
is so true because, at the end of the day, I don't think it's completely over between Trump and Elon. I think they could probably come back. I mean, they are, rich. So, of course, Elon can always call him. Like, I feel like he still has access to the White House if he ever needs something. Like, he's not completely cut off. But I do want to say this. I think you are right when you say, like, a lot of this is just a distraction because there's real shit going on out here.
Yeah.
It does give me great pleasure to see the breakdown. And, my thing is like, tell us more, like, tell us more. We want to know more. And you are right about that. Like, tell us everything that tell us. Because right now, like you said, we don't have a direction. Like, where do we go next? Like, what do we do? And it's kind of like, I hate to keep beating up on the Democrats, but I mean, we have to just because they are who they are. But we don't have that next direction. Like, we're looking for, okay, where do we go next? What do we do? And we literally do not know. And with the Democrats, we just expect them to tell us, okay, what is the next steps? Like, what are you guys going to do? Because waiting until midterms, that's not going to work for us, obviously, because it's already feels like it's been 4 years already. And yeah,
It
we don't have,
does.
yes, we are done.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the yeah, made you look kind of thing. We're all just trying and figure it out. We can't look. I'll tell you, when it was revealed, one of the things that did kind of show up is that you can't trust the media, right?
Mm,
That
mm,
that was so heartbreaking as well. That was just like another nail in the coffin of what it was that I believed was reality and what actually is reality, right? And so yeah, what we are looking for is that who got the super suit? I mean, I like, where is my super suit? Where, like, and, everybody expected Frozone, right? Like, look, and so, and we don't have that. We look at,
mhm.
Cory Booker, right? We look at, is like us, right? We're looking for that, and we are not able to find that. And I'll go ahead and say that look like us is not, yes, that is, like us,
Mhm.
but it is also like us, period. Like people that actually honestly give a shit. Like like
Yes.
we are looking for the people and the leaders that actually give a shit about what happens. We see it in Jasmine, we see it in AOC. We saw it in Bernie, right? I'm like, where Tim Walls at? I understand where Mama at, right? I mean, I understand why she is. Let me no. Some people
Yeah,
might say licking her wounds or holding it, but what we also know is that a real G does what?
move in silence.
Move in
And that's what I
silence.
kind of figured too, that Kamala is moving in silence. And I think, people have already been talking about, okay, what's her next move? What's her next move? She hasn't tried to put out a book. She hasn't been going doing interviews and podcasts. She's been doing speaking engagements. Now, I know that was kind of like a thing when Barack Obama got out of office. They were like, oh, he shouldn't be doing these speaking engagements. So you want the black person not to get their money. I think Kamala should do all her speaking engagements and get her money. They make up to 500K to a million. No, get your money, Kamala. I ain't mad at you. But
Right?
I do feel like Kamala is moving in silence to where when she get ready to make her announcement, she's going to make it, because I don't feel that she is going away. Do you feel like she's done, or she should? Do you feel like she's done, or do you feel like she should be done? Either or.
I don't feel like she's done. And the reason why I feel that way is because she has family here, right? She has family, loved ones here, and they may be blood relative or not, right? And I do believe that when she said, "We the people," the people against on behalf of the people, that is a career, a life, a legacy that she has within her. And so I don't believe that she is done. In all honesty, I don't want to jinx it, but I think we've talked about, there's the presidency, right? There's the federal government, and but there's also some places that have a little more power than even our uh, federal government, right?
Mm,
So we have seen it before. We are a nation, but there are many more nations, and there is a united one as well.
right. I get
And
you. I get you. I get you.
there is
Yeah.
a united one as well.
Well, I definitely feel that she's not done. I just think, like, for her, this is more her chance to really calibrate and really figure out, okay, what's my message? What do I want to focus on? How do we move forward as a party? I do see her currently as the leader of the Democrats, and the reason being is because now, realizing everything, the Democrats didn't have a plan. They knew they were going to lose the House and the Senate, but they were expecting Kamala to be the one to veto everything. That's what they're expecting. So to me, she is still the leader. Now, whether she's the future or not, time will tell. But I do feel like now that she doesn't have that Joe Biden, because Joe Biden, I blame Joe
Joe
Biden for
Biden.
the election. I do blame him. I know that he's going through cancer and stuff like that. And I feel like this whole whether or not he got dementia, honestly don't care, because the guy
Well,
currently in the White House obviously got dementia.
well, okay. So I have a question for you.
Hmm.
When it is the Super Bowl, okay, and you got two teams, two quarterbacks, do you blame the quarterback for not winning?
No, you blame the coach. Right? Right? Or because the coach usually gets fired.
Who do you blame? Do you blame the quarterback?
No,
No,
no.
no, because football is a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
So she is one person. Biden, as an electee or appointed official, yes, it is his. Everyone seemingly works for him, reports to him, but he didn't make those decisions in a vacuum. That's why he had all of those
Mm,
people, right? It's a team
Right.
sport. And when we see some of the team members that were supposed
Mm.
to be um, helping and a part of the team with Kamala as the quarterback,
Right.
it's the team, it has an issue. You don't have the right players on that
Right. And I
team.
definitely feel like she did not have the right players. I feel like they were playing for Joe Biden, but she was not Joe Biden. Or
Oh,
they
I
had
think that
some
they were
kind of
playing for
loyalty.
themselves. If you go back and you
Oh,
look at the DNC announcement when she came out and accepted the nomination and everything, there were strategic ways that those the cameras were panned. And
mm,
if you listen to what, not to what was being said, but to what was not being said,
mm,
and we look at what is happening now when we're seeing some of the those that we thought had her back, and just because you're a Democrat doesn't mean that you had her back, right? Doesn't mean that you
great.
showed up for the party. A lot of people were showing up for themselves, for their own interests. Some of those interests had very much to do with economics and not about politics and legalities and all of those things.
Right.
So we
Or
see
I'm
like
hoping to
how,
run in the future.
yeah, you said it.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, some of the even people in AT2, your backyard.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that because that's the same person I was thinking about. The person in my backyard. Yeah, in
Mhm.
Sacramento
Yeah, yeah, that
at the
part.
Capitol.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and
Super.
so
They like to
when
say Batman, but I think he's more of a supervillain. But keep going.
in all intents and purposes, Batman was the best of the bad guys,
Hmm.
you know? And
That's
so
right.
yeah, he's the best of the bad guys, you know?
Yeah.
So but it was pretty obvious when we were all as individuals, we were all excited about the, DNC, especially watching it from home. And we were live, you had it streaming on your channel and
Hmm.
we were all in there and we were talking and typing away and all of that stuff, but when you also look at the screen and how you could see who really wasn't on her side.
Hmm.
And I don't think that that was because they wanted, Mr. Biden to President Biden to be the one to champion. And I think that there was, other interests, even from.
Mm. Mm. Wow.
So it makes
Wow.
it really difficult moving forward, even as a party. Like, just much like how they did what they had, the Republicans had the Tea Party, right? That turned into,
Hmm.
you something else. I think we'll see the same types of things happening with the Democratic Party. So it's like it makes us question who we are and what party affiliation we are with. Um,
Right, because I definitely feel like I don't have a home.
right. Yep. Yeah. Same here. Same here.
Yeah. Hell,
So
you know what? I just realized I'm above 35. Like I can just run for president. Why not? Why not me? No, no, no. I'm not running anytime soon. Trust me. Well, Kate, this has been a great conversation, but I do have a couple of other questions to ask you. With it
sure.
being Juneteenth coming up, are you yes on reparations?
As then obviously then we're like, yes. With that said, there is how we go about doing that, right? And
Hmm.
so, and that even kind of like played in if we go back to, to $500, just the stimmy, right?
Oh,
This, like when we look
our
at this.
check better be more than $500. I tell you that. But
Well, the reparations only work if we are able to take those reparations and apply them towards something that will grow over time, right? So,
agree.
so that, because that is really essentially what was missed out on, the ability to have that generational wealth or that land or that community. That's what was missed out on. So it's not necessarily, like the stimmy, but that long-term longevity. And I do believe in that, and I do think that we as a people should have that. And marginalized communities that have been impacted by some archaic uh
Mm,
political ecosystems, then yeah,
right,
I mean, we should.
right,
And it's wild because I mean, we're not even the majority. We're not even the majority of, like, but
right. That's true. And
you know
it's funny when you think about it, like, because they always go like, okay, well, how uh we wouldn't know how to what to do with the money if we got it, blah 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 blah. For me, like you were kind of alluding to, it doesn't have to be money. It could be something that grows over time. So definitely I understand where you're getting to. And by the way, everybody who comes on my channel, yeah, they will be asked that question. So
yeah.
it's not just, I'm not picking on you. Everybody's going to be asked that question, no
Well, it's
matter
the
what hue
season.
they are.
Yeah, it's June, and it's like I love, you know, don't get me wrong, like we've had some trailblazers that helped us get to the point that we are.
Mhm.
But I would like to see some new some I some newness that kind of MLK, a great pillar of, justice for us and equality for us, but that is
Mhm.
something that needs to continue. It can't
Right,
continue with only MLK, right? That
right.
is, because that means that it's something for the history books, right? You have to have leaders step in. I do believe that Obama, and look, now I said Obama, I did not say Barack. Okay. I mean,
Oh, okay, okay. I see where you're going with that.
Michelle.
Michelle,
Michelle
damn.
is, you know, I, she is what we all want. She is the mother. She is mother, okay? That
Forever
we want.
Flotus.
And yes, forever FLOTUS, right? And so when we look at that, it has to continue, and it can't continue with that we done been done wrong. Okay. I mean, it's not, it's like
So
we
you wouldn't
it
consider Dr. Umar the leader of
uh no comment.
Okay, I guess it's the end of And so my next question is, what is your one wish? Like, if you could have one wish, what would that be?
Okay, why you have to say it like that? Because you know what comes to mind when you ask that question. If
Is
I
it a
have
song?
one wish.
One wish.
If I could, one wish, it would definitely be a November do-over.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Yeah. Hopefully with a different result. Yeah. I like that one. I wouldn't yeah, I'm going to steal yours because I like that.
Oh,
If I had to think of something else, I'm gonna think of something different. I got something.
okay.
I wish to fall in love. Ooh,
Ooh,
ooh. I'm taking it deep.
wow.
Yeah,
Yes, we're definitely gonna have to discuss that one. At some point in time, I'd love to have that conversation with you. Yeah, because yeah, you are. It's time. It's time. 35.
yeah,
It's time. Yeah, you've done all
yeah.
your running around. you know.
Yeah, I'm done running. My knees is getting bad. My feet, I'm flat footed. I can't run no more. No, yeah.
I'm
18 to
glad the boot is off though.
yes, the boot is off, so now I can run. Yeah, I forgot when we did the meetup, I was in a boot. Yeah.
You were in a
Wow, that
boot.
was a first
Yeah.
impression, right?
I lost my phone at the first.
Yeah.
You're in a boot.
And we did a lot of walking, and I was in that damn boot. Oh my god. Ay, ay, ay. Ain't that something? Well, also too, I just thought about that time period of the meetup was so much fun. Like, definitely, we're gonna have to do it again. I know I was trying to plan something, but I was like, you know what? I don't think this is the right moment to
Yeah.
do it, so I kind of held it back. But definitely next year, 2026, we're gonna do another meetup.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, it will be fun. Well, Kay, last words, anything that you want to say to the people? Thank you for being my first guest.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited about what am I excited about? I was gonna say, this like I'm excited about the future and everything. Like, oh no, I've got a little bit like, oh, I'm kind of scared a little bit. But what is it that I would like to say? I don't know if I can mention this one person.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Miss Barbara, I would like to see you Um, expand a little bit. I completely
Ooh.
I you know, I'm always in the chats, but you said, "Is there anything that I would like to say to the people?" I would like to say, "Miss Barbara, I was rooting for you, ma'am." And, you know, uh, yeah, I'd like you to take your wisdom that you do have and use it for good, not for evil.
Ooh, I would have to say that too. I think by the way, Miss Barbara is a lovely woman. I
Yeah,
really like Miss Barbara, and I
yeah.
feel like she could use a lot of her wisdom and her knowledge for good. So I would definitely have to agree with that. That damn, I like that. I definitely like that. Now, will she ever do that? Probably not, but we can only hope, right? I guess
Well, a
I
lot
guess
of
we
the
got two
things
wishes.
okay,
Yeah, we got two
right,
wishes.
right.
One to change November election, and then two, for Miss Barbara to use her good and her wisdom.
Yeah, use her wisdom for good.
Yeah,
Because
use
some
her
of the
wisdom for
things,
good.
like, I've even texted you and I'm like, okay, actually, what she said, that did make sense. But you got to go like all the way back to 1982 in order to understand why she's saying what she's saying, because then it converges over here on Brooklyn Court.
Oh,
Okay.
right. She doesn't give us the history, the backstory. Like, she's on the right track. Like, I get what
Yes.
she's saying, but she just doesn't have all the pieces. And like, I want to help her fill in those pieces because, yeah, definitely. I need Miss Barbara on the show. That's gonna be my
Miss
next guest, Miss
Barbara.
Barbara. Yeah, we're gonna have Miss Barbara. Now, Miss Barbara probably gonna cuss you out. So but we
Don't
gotta
do it
have
like
her on
that.
the show.
But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, in all honesty, AT2, I'm so glad that I met you. I've been an AT tuber for what, 3.5 years now, something like that. And I count you as a friend, as that's why I'm a friend of AT2, but I'm a friend of Andre. And I'm so glad that you are a part of a circle that I did not even know was there. And I'm glad and thank you very much for bringing me into your circle of friends and allow me to meet lots of the people that are also in your chats. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Now, I'll be honest, and I'm gonna leave this in. I don't know when this episode is going to premiere, but I know it'll be before Juneteenth, and I know that it will be during Pride. So happy Pride, happy Juneteenth, everybody. We
Happy.
love everyone. Happy Freedom Day, happy Pride, all that good stuff. But Kay, thank you again for joining the show. I appreciate you. And yeah, this was awesome. I can't wait for people to see this.
Me too. Me too. All right. Thank you so much. You have a good
Yes.
one.
And bye everybody. Thank you guys for checking out the show.